Well, yeah,
it wouldn't be the first time an artist got ripped off. Let's just put it that
right,
way.
exactly. Again,
And it will
especially
not be
this
the
time,
last.
because this time you pretty much had to have the support of a major label to have any kind of success in the music industry. And when you did that, you literally sold your soul to the label. They
Oh
had
yeah.
the rights to all your songs. You didn't have the rights to songs you wrote yourself. And oftentimes, this happened a lot in Motown with a lot of the R&B groups, is the producers would put their names, give themselves a songwriting credit on a lot of these artists' albums,
Yeah, so they
even if
get
they
the
had nothing to do
royalties.
with it.
Yeah.
Right, just so they can get the royalties.
Yeah. And on
So
top
it was
and at the end of it's also like who would own the masters? Like the label would
exactly
guarantee that they would own the masters, and
yes,
that's where your money is. If you own your masters, then you have the potential to actually make a comfortable living. If you own the masters and you end up being like a pretty successful artist and you
hmm
then because you own the masters, you pretty much are getting all of the royalties.
right.
So you're gonna actually make decent money. Like I forget who it was, but there was this guy who was like a rapper on Joe Rogan's show. Some white dude. He was like part of a rap group or something like that, and like I guess he
hmm
branched off and did his own thing. But they were talking about like how the music industry sucks or whatever, and like how
Yeah,
they just like how you don't get paid, and he was like, "Well, I get paid okay." Like they were talking about how like Spotify and just like gives the artist a very low percentage that's like laughable,
yes,
and 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 the other guy was like, "Well, I mean, they take more than they should, but like I do okay on there." And he's like, "Well, how do you do that?" And he's like, "Well, I own my masters, so
yeah,
like they have to give me the maximum of what they would of like what anyone can get. So it's
right,
not going. So like 90% is not going to the label. Let's just say for the sake of the argument that the label takes 90, which is not too far off from the truth.
right.
The label takes 90% if they own your masters because it's going to be in their contract. We get your masters, so we can do whatever we want with them. We can make as much money until the end of time,
hmm
and you'll get the 10%. So like, thank you, fuck you, bye. And when you own your masters, you're getting the full 100. So like, even though you're
Right.
still not getting, even though Spotify or the streaming platform or whatever is going to take the lion's share, you're still getting the full extent of what you're going to get. So like if you get let's just say you average about like 200,000 plays a day or something like that, then you're going to get all of like the little like pennies, and it's going to add up to like a good chunk of change.
Well, even then, even like you're only getting a fraction of a penny. Even in that case, like I think
Yeah.
Spotify's like their payment structure is so terrible. It's just that so many artists now you pretty much have to be on Spotify to get any kind of exposure. So that's why like they just deal with it. They take the hit. And if you're someone like friggin' like Kanye West or something where you're getting millions of views or plays a day, then yeah, you're still making a decent amount of money because you're getting
Well,
millions upon millions of plays. But
that's
like
if he owns his masters. If he doesn't own his masters, then
even
I
then,
mean he's
he's
still
getting
getting
right.
money.
He's
He's still
and
getting good money.
he's probably getting so many plays a day on Spotify that even if he's only getting 10% of what is he's the revenue coming in, it's still probably like millions of dollars,
Yeah,
a month or a year.
he's a billionaire, right?
Exactly,
I think
he's a
he is a
billionaire.
billionaire.
Yes, he is. He
Yeah,
just became a billionaire.
yeah. So he's been doing all right for he's been doing all right for a
Yeah,
while, but
yeah.
but he's still like even him, he's still getting like ripped off badly if he
hmm
doesn't own the Masters. Which I mean, at this point, because like he has so much money that I would imagine he's
Well,
bought the
I
rights
think
back to
Kanye.
his own music, and he
Well, and
probably
I think he's also produced a lot of his own music, like through his and distributed through his own kind of thing. I think he owns his own label. I'm
I'm
pretty sure.
sure he does by now. But
Uh,
I mean, like his early catalog, I would imagine he bought the rights back.
yeah.
But yeah, Blowfly, unfortunately, like most artists, like probably like 99% of artists, was not in a position to do that.
No. Um, Yeah, and especially because again, he came up in that era where that was like the norm was to like basically sell your soul to to the record companies.
Right, and he
You
was
know,
on, and I mean, he wasn't even on a big label. He was on like
no,
TK Records, which was an indie label.
right. And I
And
think when he did the punk thing,
the label went bankrupt in the '80s. So
when he did the punk thing, he was on Jello Biafra's independent label, Alternative
yeah,
Tentacles. Um, so I think if Blowfly had maybe come up in more modern times, he probably would have had a better chance of retaining the rights to his music because it's so much easier now to self-produce and self-release albums because of the advent of computers and digital audio workstations like Pro Tools and all that kind of thing.
yeah. I mean,
Uh,
it's still really tough to like make a living, but
oh yeah, it's
but
absolutely still hard, but it's possible to because now anybody can pretty much do it in their bedroom with like a cursory knowledge of you know those programs
yeah.
and basic recording practices. So it's definitely a different beast now than it was. You still have the major labels that rip people off, but it's a lot easier now to self-publish and not even go through a label anymore.
Right.
So I think the music industry is fundamentally changing because of that. The major labels are still trying to squeeze whatever money they can before they know that the incoming collapse of the major label, the system, it's inevitable because of how everything is going digital. So they're trying to just squeeze every last bit they can out of whatever artists they can right now. But really, they're going to be irrelevant in the next 10 or 15 years.
Oh yeah. I mean, they like we've seen it up to the point where
Mm-hmm.
like like when things first started to become digital, there was like it was just like Napster and just like file sharing, and now it's
Right.
just evolved. It's evolved to to like publicly traded companies that
Yeah. And
essentially do the same thing, but but they've found a way for like the labels to make money as a part
right.
of it. But the but for well even but before in like the in between period, I would say like the like 2004 and like upwards, they like in order to get people to like buy CDs, they would have to add more things to it,
Yeah.
which like first they would add like DVDs where it was like either all the different parts of the documentary through like dispersed throughout a reissue of the catalog after they'd reissue the catalogs hundreds of times, or like there would be like big box sets or whatever, but
Mm-hmm.
like they'd either include DVDs with it
Yeah.
or like, and that worked for a while until like everything went digital too with that, where like YouTube, somebody would just rip the documentary or just rip the concert that was on the DVD from buying the CD, or
Right.
like you could even like just download it because somebody would like rip it and you do like a Kaza or a freaking Frost,
LimeWire.
yeah, LimeWire or FrostWire, one of those things, and you just download it. So
Mm-hmm.
then that stopped working, and then it was like, well, what do we do? I think, and I mean, even they went to like posters, they went to like all this bonus stuff, and then after a while, it just didn't even matter because you're like, well, what do I care? I can just download all of it. And
Mm-hmm.
then like I don't know, I guess they like tried to put it behind paywalls, and then they tried to do all these other things, and like everything that the music industry did, it didn't like it just kind of staggered and like delayed it. Like it kept
Mm-hmm.
sales it had like little surges here and there, or like it kept like revenue, it kept some form of revenue coming in, but it was still like getting less. Like you'd see maybe like a spike here and there, but it would like kind of balance itself out to still be lower because there was nothing they could do about it, and they're still not. Like they even went back, they even went as far as like signing like more retro bands and then releasing
Yeah.
like cassette tapes and
Yeah.
releasing like, and then like
Vinyl
vinyl had
records.
and then
Yeah.
vinyl had like a little comeback, which now I think it's like gone back to just people who collect vinyl,
Yeah.
and it's not necessarily a big thing. It's not as
Although
big as it
I do,
was.
they have vinyl at Walmart now in
Oh
the
no,
music section, so that's
they do still have it, but I mean,
right. So
I don't
that's,
think
I mean, that's pretty.
I don't think the sales are what they were when they first started like
No,
bringing vinyl back.
no.
You know, like
Right. Well, it was a novelty thing. That's why
well, of
everyone wanted
course, all
the
novelty
eventual
things are
final.
only going to last as long as they last.
Right.
You know, or even like a digipack that would come with a T-shirt or whatever it was. They tried so many different things, and they worked. They worked for a little while, but it just kept.
Well, the
You know,
smart
they're just
bands,
delaying the inevitable.
the smart bands, like kind of used piracy to their advantage. Like you take a band like Iron Maiden, who what they would do is they would look at the places where their music was being most pirated and then tour that country because they knew that all those people that were pirating that music and streaming that music would come to the show and buy
Yeah,
merchandise, and that's really where the real money was.
smart.
So yeah, that's like really, and a
I
lot of
think
bands will say
Overkill did
that.
that too.
Yeah, a lot of bands will say that, like, if you can't afford to buy the record, then at least come to the show and buy a T-shirt because that we end up making more money from that anyway. Because they don't have to deal with the record company. Then the money's pretty much going directly to the band. I mean, the venue obviously takes a portion of it, but like for having your merch there, but uh, most of it goes to the band as opposed to most of it going to the record company.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's a shame that Blowfly didn't come up in that era. He probably would have had a lot more success if he was, you know, now, still alive now, born a little bit later and producing music now still. But, it is what it is.